called vipassana. The word vipassana refers to making an observation. When we say vipassana, the samatha, if we take it, the word as its coin, then it means concentration. And when we say vipassana, it means an observation. If I am observing when my mind is not, when my heart is not distorted, we say we are doing samatha vipassana. But as I said before so many times, the state which is not agitated, I said there is a perception or context given. That means we need to have the right perception. And I have repeatedly said this many times. And proper perception refers to the idea that's been formed with the right teacher's teaching and also with that. But although the idea has been formed by the right teaching, not all the knowledge that has been acquired is a right perception, but we just know that if we do in such a manner, we know. So same as just because we learned how to read the letters doesn't mean we can write a letter. Based on the language that we have learned, if we are writing letter to our parents, so whether it's good or not is a secondary problem, but we can actually write the letter. Just like that, we need to have the right perception. Then only at the concentrated form we can observe properly. But if we don't have the right perception, and if we observe with the concentration, then it could also be the outside Buddhism. In Korea, there are so many people who say that they have gained their enlightenment, but they are lying. If they don't have the right perception, then how can the right observation possible? It is impossible. It seems like it is impossible, and it could also seem like it's been done, but in reality, either that they are in Taoism or even without your knowledge, they are in agitation or slumber, or they could also have other beliefs, just like Brahmanism. You understood? But here, when we say vipassana of the right perception, what does that mean? The vipassana at the lower level is the evil and the virtue. When you perform good things or good deeds, then we will have the consequence that both of us will be happy. But when we perform an evil act, then it could also give us bad consequence to both of us. That's an observation that we can make from the law of relations. So when we do good things, then we have the consequence to be born as a human or suras or in the heaven. But when we do bad things, we could fall into the hell, earth, and also we can have an observation for samsara for the 12 dependent arisings. And if we talk about something in more detail, if we talk in direct relation to the teaching, then before we perform the right perception and to do the prana practice, we also perform the prior or pre-practice. So the vipassana and samatha only if they are done. And vipassana is only possible when samatha is done, but it's not possible to do it only with samatha, but the agony, total agony, the last stroke of agony gets cut off together with the vipassana. If you ask, with vipassana, what observation do we make for the absolute truth? Through the pre-practice, we perform vipassana. And what kind of vipassana is it? It is the vipassana for the voidness of the voidness. When we say we are observing, it is void. And in six paramitas, we talk about six different paramitas, and even in samatha and vipassana, we talk about samatha and vipassana. But if we talk about it in more detail, samatha is a pre-practice for vipassana. Whether we say we practice them both at the same time, then things like lamlim or 해심의 경소 or 마지간, in such a treatise, if we study, then the vipassana without samatha, the vipassana is not being practiced. Vipassana without samatha, it is not only impossible, but before samatha, you need to have the right perception. And so, the vipassana without the right perception is also impossible. So to have the right perception, we need to develop the sense of discrimination for the sutras too. This is just like ABC, 1 plus 1 equals 2. So you should never think of it in a haste. Also, although you say you have studied the sutras for 20 years, in reality you have only listened. So we cannot say you have performed the sharp idea or right perception about it. So when someone mentions or comments on it, then you have your own doubts whether it is true. And also there are people who say that when they have seen the Hinduism practice, they thought it was also Buddhism. And also some people who cannot even make out the difference, maybe because of the bad eyesight. They also say that when I went there, I saw Buddha's statue. But even with the pig head right in front of them, and when he is bowed in front of the pig head, he also said there was a monastery. But even on the way here, when they see Chungminsa, the shrine, they think it's still a monastery. There is a very that's the time when you are not even able to make out at all. And if you are practicing vipassana in a very sensual sense, then you need to have a very sharp sense of discrimination. So before the sense of discrimination is cultivated, I said there's only one way to do it. You need to meet a teacher like Buddha, and by listening to his teachings only, and with all your life, if you follow his teachings, it will help you, because it did the same during Buddha's time. It was the same even at the time of Nagarjuna. But like nowadays, when people are so cunning and they try to use their brain for so many different things, when something has been taught to them, they think of it or interpret as their convenience. and it's almost like 5 to 7 year old kid who which is very easy for them to lose the way. And at the time they walk very fast. Their heels, they don't even touch the ground. They look like they would fall, but they actually walk very fast. And because they think they can actually find home on their own, but when they walk they're not able to find the house. And they are not able to find the house because they go around very fast.
그러니까 못 찾아. 왜냐, 왜못 찾느냐? 뺑뺑이를 돌아버리니까 엄청 빨라.
So when we say vipassana, the essence here is vipassana of voidness. Samatha is concentration. But when we say pranya paramita, when we say what is pranya, it is words or sayings about voidness.
바냐 바라밀이다라는 것은 바냐가 뭐냐라고 했을 때
So Buddha has spoken about voidness for 21 years. He started when he was about 45 years old, and
21년 동안을 공생에 관한 말씀을 하신 말씀만 하신
until he was 66 years old,
거의
he only spoke of voidness. So when you ask what's wisdom, in other way, although we say we differentiate it from knowledge,
지혜가 뭐냐라고 얘기했어요. 지혜를 다른 얘기로 하면 지식하고
wisdom refers to voidness, which doesn't have any eternal thing in this world. So it actually refers to the real voidness in this world. So when we say pranya paramita,
얘기하는 것을 얘기하는 거야.
when we also talk about how to put it into practice, that is the actual teaching for the 법화경. And as a bodhisattva, you have to do this and that.
그건 이제 나이가
You have to try to develop your compassion and to put it actually to practice after attaining the voidness, and to strengthen the sense of bodhisattva. And when you try to save all other sentient beings, that is the actual sutra or 법화경.
일체 중생을 건지겠다라는 생각을 말씀하신 것이 전부 다 법화경이란 말이에요.
When he observed with the voidness, he realized that there is nothing in this world that is lacking in some way, and so there is the Abhaktamsara's Popsangyang. And after he has attained the voidness, when he viewed this world, there was nothing which is lacking, and everything was in such a great harmony. That story is well, when you go to Hua Monastery, you can see the Hwaum. It's written, the actual wording is the shining and also hiding. So this world has everything.
이 세상 모든 것이 부족한 것이 하나도 없이 다 갖추고 있더라.
And Hwaumgyong, he spoke in 7 different places 9 times.
화엄경은 7처구해야 7군데서 9번 설법하신 거야. 9번을 써. 그건 이제 우리가
At each instant, for the elites who had learned very much, for those elites who are deeply into Buddhism. When I went to Bogang, the place was actually smaller than this Dharma room, and when Buddha has spoken in a place which is even smaller than this, then it is actually less than 100 people who can understand Avatamskara Sutra. He's a great teacher. He's someone who is amazing. And when he was passing away for 3 months, he only spoke about nirvana, the being everything. You can become bodhisattvas. bodhisattvas, arahants, even you all, when you have completed the six paramita practice, you are also a Buddha. All the wrong ideas and all the wrong agonies, if you have gotten rid of them in your mind, and if your mind is rigid, and when all the sadness and happiness has disappeared in your heart, you are also a Buddha. That's what he taught them. And so, what is Vipassana? When we are looking at this world, Dalai Lama said this time, the things that he spoke about voidness, they are all for the Vipassana. What Nagarjuna has written about the middle way, it's all about voidness. I have also said in Prajnaparamita Sutra,
공성에 관한 말씀하신 그 내용들이 전부 다 관의 내용들이야. 용수보살이 중론을 쓴 것이 전부 다 관의 내용.
when you perform,
그래서 내가 여러 번 얘기했지만 반야신경에
when you observe the whole world with voidness, and when you are observing it,
자제보살 행심반야 반야바라밀타를 행할 때
even I, who I call as myself,
공성으로서 모든 세상을 관찰해 보면서
if you know that it's also void,
그것을 관찰할 때
then all the suffering and happiness or unhappiness will also disappear. This itself does not have any property that doesn't change at all. If you know this, then all the sufferings will disappear. And so even you, when you treat something, even your attachment for your children, if you feel that, oh, we have met through the relations, my son, even you, I'm saying son here because here is 99% mothers. Son, even you, we have also met because we have some relation. My life, it is wrong to say that my life will be sacrificed for your interest, but we have just met momentarily because we have some relations. It doesn't have so much meaning. What's the name of your son? Even your son, he's not of a great importance. You have just met him shortly because of your relations. But this doesn't mean your daughters are of great importance. Even daughters are the same. You have just met shortly because of your relations. So when you look at your sons and daughters, well, when I have some function at the kindergarten that we own, I was very shocked. They do talent show, and so when they do like a Red Lotus team, and there are about 30 kids in front, and then I can feel some energy from back of my head. It's almost like some thermal sensor, and I can see the lasers emitting from the eyes. And also, if that's not possible, then nowadays people carry cameras and they all come to front and they take pictures. They don't care if others can see or not, but it's your son, it's your grandchildren, and that's important. And I think grandmothers are worse than mothers, and I thought maybe grandmothers they get some pocket money with this. So even when I see the suns, I feel that yes,
할머니자들은
even you do not
할머니
have your
같은
own
경우에는
life,
용돈을 더
and
받으시는 거예요.
I also don't have anything that's eternal. If both of us have something eternal, then I can be attached to you for the eternity.
그래서 그래서 그
But
아들을 볼 때도
although
그래요.
I have attachments for
너도
you, but
그
I
장기의
am to
사랑
you
갖고
and
있지만
you are
나도
to
영원에
me.
대한 사랑 갖고 있지만 너와 내가 이런
We are just
분명한 사랑을
beings
갖고
who just
있다면
disappear
그러면
if
내가 네 때문에
when
불변의
all our relations are done.
집착했고 할 수도 있지만은
Because we have
나는
met with
너를
the
갖다가
relations, let's not have
애착하지만
attachments,
너는
and
나에게
I hope you'd
남는데
also find a way to live happily through
이
me.
감은
But
공기처럼
because our
사라져
attachments,
버릴 수 있어.
if it grows, then we could harm each other, or both of us could live in suffering.
지혜에 다해서
But let's not
네가
do that.
이
Isn't that so?
너로 만났으니 애착하지 말고 너도
So you have to
행복하게 사는
realize that it is
방법을
void.
나로 인해서 얻었으면
That
좋겠다.
too, if you don't have the sense of
서로
strength
애착해서 아파서
in your own,
찢어지지 말고
then you'll be pulled by it. When you say your children, then lasers are already emitted, and you
그렇잖아.
don't even wear shoes, and your body is
그래서
already
예수님을
acting.
깊이
Even
그것도
you, when
이제
you talk,
내가 선정력이
the only
없으면
thing that you
훅
talk
내 마음이
about
딸려가
is,
버려서 안 돼.
my kid, this time he got good results,
이거는 뭐
and
레인지가
met this
훅
teacher,
나가고 옷도
and
벌써
this
앞으로
happened, and that
나가고
happened.
신발은 나중에 신는다니까.
Don't talk to me something of that sort when you meet me,
말 어느
because I
것은
don't even have
여러분도
children.
만나면 킥갓 떠드는 소리가
In front of someone who doesn't even have a child, you talk about so many useless things.
뭐 어느 선생님을 만났더니 어쩌고 저쩌고
Is Cheong
나하고 만났을 땐 그런
well
얘기 하지
grown?
마.
How old is he?
나는 애도 없으니까.
He's 25 years old now.
애도 없는 사람 앞에서 말이야 쉴 데도 없는 소리를.
Did you just give him water all the time? I thought he would be about 15, 16 years old now.
지영이 많이 컸냐? 몇 살이냐?
But then it's been a long time after you got married and you get birth, but you haven't aged a lot.
무슨 물만 맨날 줬냐?
Maybe you're not very grown inside.
혼자 한 11살 때 나오랬다. 아 그러고 보니까
Cheong is grown so fast.
오래됐다. 근데 자는 별로 안 늙었어.
So when you look at the world,
이 별로 없나 봐.
you should fear that there is no eternity.
아이고 지영이가 벌써
It
그렇게
just got formulated with relations, and it's also going to distort away. There's nothing to be attached for, and even money, it disperses so well.
그래 전 자성이 없어. 그냥 인연 따라서 그뭐
Even when you walk, every step you took,
인연 따라서
the money gets dispersed. Do you know how much money you spend on the way when you drive?
우리가 돈이라는 거
Then the tires, as they wear out, the money is also running off. And when the petrol, gas is running, you're also spending as much money as that. And even when you're paying the toll fees, it's the same. Per kilometer is already decided. If you pass 1 kilometer, then since we are not very clever, although we say, oh, we came so soon, we are very happy, but actually the money has fallen off.
톨게이트비 또 주면서
So spending money and energy has been calculated to money.
1km 착각 지나가면 우리는
So they are spent.
기분 좋다 그러지만은
So if you say, oh, yesterday was a good time, I spent good time, I ate well, I slept well, what does it mean? Aging, when a lot of your cells also die, it's just like that.
그러니까 떠들지 마라. 여러분도
Although you say you have seen a movie and you spend good time, but it isn't actually so.
뭐냐면
Your cells could also die, and even in your body, a lot of funerals has happened in your body, and also a lot of new cells has been born. Each time a new cell is born, they would have done the birth ceremony, and also each time a cell has been dying, they also had some sort of funeral, isn't it?
산후조리원도 많이 생겼고
So in data about it, there are so many like millions and billions of cells. So when there is a funeral, uh, as far as I know, in Yosu only about 2,000 people die in a year.
20개 정도 되는 세포가
But
그냥
although you could comment that I am talking about something, uh, a lot of things, but there are about like 2,000 people who die every year. But in our body, it's many more times than people dying in Yasu. Just like that, we have so many funerals and a lot of new cells are being born.
1년에 죽는 사람이 한 2천 명 정도.
But this life and death issue, do we talk about you spent good time yesterday?
수십만 배 된다고. 그렇게 많은 초상이 일어나고.
So even for a short time, there is no place in this world that we can rest even for a short time. Although we feel that we have taken a good rest, but it isn't so. Everything is changing, and everything is going through change each moment. We are just people who has met very shortly at the time when there are so many changes going on. You have to observe that in detail. And if you do, then you will realize that there is nothing to hold on to or have your attachments for. There is nothing to do that.
어느 것에 애착하고 무엇을 갖다 붙들고 무엇을 집착하고 할 것인가 그죠?
Isn't it so? So you just have to feel that we are just dependent on each other for our existence, and maybe we could observe the preciousness of it, but there is no being which are worth our attachment, even our body and even our consciousness. There isn't anything that we need to have our attachments for.
우리들에게 집착할 대상은 하나도 없다는 것을 알아야 돼. 내 몸마저도, 내 의식마저도 애착하고 집착해야 될 대상은 하나도 없어요.
Even the mind that is aware, its actual personality has been in deficit. Even our heart, it's written as its own personality, but even our heart or mind, that is also it also does not have anything that is eternal. It has also arose depending on the situation or conditions.
본래 성품이라고 이렇게 번역을 하는데 본래 성품이라기보다 자성이 결여돼 있어 없어. 마음이라는 것도 무자성이라. 마음이라는 것도 인연 따라서 상황 따라서 일어난 것일 뿐이다. 그래서 온 12처 18개 그랬죠, 그죠? 온 12처 18개.
They have been the result of conflicts of mind and also senses.
안식, 이식, 비식, 설식, 또 촉식, 의식.
But even our body, it tries to maintain by meeting its own relations, and DNA has been formed. And just like that, our consciousness has also tried to do it, and the DNA that's been formed.
계속 이렇게 그 인연을 만나서 유지를 하려고 하다 보니까 안에 DNA 같은 게 생겼잖아요, 그죠?
DNA that has been formed is a sort of consciousness, and the sort of bump of energy has been formed. And it's also difficult to say that's I, or it is also difficult to say that's not me, because there's a passing down of karma. And so if you say, oh, am I being passed down to next life? But that isn't so, right? So because of our practice, and also the practice has been done for sitting for 1 hour or 1.5 an hour. So our Seokcheon monasteries people, they can sit for sit for a long time and they can sit well, but I'm telling you in a secret manner, other places they have not been able to sit just like us.
석승과 신도들은 그래도 잘 앉아 있고 점잖하고 그러더라고.
And so I felt that uh, that's why we also need experience. So while studying, I have also checked, and also the Arayashik that was mentioned before was actually Visnyanya.
다른 데로 좀
Well, people who have come with us, their faces were changing in different colors.
이렇게 보고
And some people they were sitting with stretched legs, and some people they try to take your position for the next class. And there's so many different issues.
뒤틀리고 그냥 보니까 얼굴이 푸라고.
And even sitting down, you need to have experience, built-in experience.
뻗고 앉았고 어떤 사람은 또 자리
I wonder if Korean people are sitting, going around too much. But well, I think we actually can tolerate a little better than foreigners sitting there, and people were sitting well. And when I check of the people who are dozing off, they're only one person,
사람들이 너무 빨빨거리고 돌아다니나.
and I didn't see any other people dozing off when I was actually dozing off.
빨빨거리고 다닌 것 같아. 그래서 앉아 있는데 그래도 잘 앉아.
When we say the actual personality has been deficit, it's because we produce the opponent by moving apart, and we intake them, or we are aware of them, and because of that, the property of the existence is based on the innate nature of the self. Since there is no actual or eternal property, so depending on the basis that's been taken, our mind also, our heart also goes through a constant change.
자성을 갖고 있지 못하기 때문에 거듭 대상과
Did you upload everything online?
작용을 하면서 거듭 자꾸 진화를 하거나 퇴보를 하거나 생멸을
So make sure that you watch this once again online. The content that's been taught, please study them once again.
인터넷에 다 올렸어. 올라가고. 그러니까 다시 인터넷으로
So what is this?
다 인터넷으로 그
In the beginning,
내용 다시
the beginning of all karmas.
그러니까 이건 뭐냐면 우리가
When you say it in this way,
모든 업의 시작점은
the very basis starts off from a very detailed or very minute consciousness. So the consciousness becomes a thought and speech, and when it's put into practice, the things arising from it, they are very harsh in nature.
정점이 되는 부분은 아주 미세한 의식에서부터 시작한 거야.
Was it yesterday or day before yesterday, the criminal who has been caught? What did he say when he was caught? I haven't done anything wrong. I also have to survive.
그럼 우리 이제 한번 그 그저께인가 잡힌 그 뭐 사람 죽이가지고 잡힌 딱
And for those people, it's very difficult to get rid of the karmas that they have been accumulating so far. Because they've been doing it so far, even killing people, the karma is very strong until they're killing people. And after killing people, when they have been caught by police, they need to have a little sense of shame. If they have that, then we can also think that there's a room for improvement. But it starts off with the sense of anger, and they say they need to survive and they've done nothing wrong. And because they need to survive, they have to kill everyone who has given them loss. And also this karma, it has become so strong. And then if you ask where did the karma start from, it started off from a very small change, or from the very small encouragement from the mind. or the heart. So the minor practitioners, when this seed starts in the heart, when it starts, you have to make out that it's starting, and you have to cut them right off. You understand? So when you are plowing a field, the most foolish person uh, the most foolish person does the farming in this way. Well, since it's a little late this year, let's do it next year. You say it's late this year.
밭을 매는데요. 제일 멍청한 사람이 밭을 매는 방법이 하나 있어요.
Korea, you have gone through this, right? In the plum field and also in the orange field, in summer, it's just full of weeds and so in order to cut down all the weeds, although they try to cut it off with the machine, it's quite funny. After a week, they're again back, and it's just as good as giving pocket money to workers working in the farm. If I say in a little uncomfortable manner, it's almost like they have hold hands together with the workers. It's almost like just cut a little bit, and once the work is done, again the next day, after a week or 10 days, after rainfall, they're back again. And then the worker would come back and say, "Oh, I think you have to cut again." And they also say, "Oh, I don't have money, and so just leave it." And then in autumn, they say that, "Oh, when things are dry in winter, let's just burn them all." And didn't you do that? So right now, those people, when they do those kind of things, they could be going through the time that they want to just burn their life away. But people who are a little hardworking, they do something in order to make it better. But when we actually burn them, then the seeds where the plants which are already turned yellow, there's no need to burn them because the seeds will not grow from them. The plants will not grow from the yellow ones. But if you burn them, they will come back in a better way. And from things like dandelion, if from one seed, and that small white seed, there are more than 80 seeds there. And if there are about like tens of them, then per one there are 800 seeds. And that too, they underestimate people that on a windy day, they do some sort of fasting. And when the wind blows, they fly far. They fly very far, to 500 meters to 1 kilometer. And it's worse than those chemical weapons. So someone who knows their heart so well, they know two things. The first one is even if the person cleans up the weeds there, the seeds will fly off from somewhere else. There could be pine trees and also some other trees, and also the beans. Those family belonging to beans, it's almost like a gunshot. they ripe, and on a
솔씨도
very
날아오고
sunny day,
가시도
they
날아오고
dry,
또 어떤
and
꽃가
when they
식물들은
fall, they bounce.
튀겨.
And it's almost like 10 meters. They can fly
총을
to
쏴.
10 meters.
뭐냐 이게 딱 이게 딱 이게 이게
And some seats
익어가지고
are
있다가
also
햇빛이 딱
on
쨍쨍쨍쨍
airplanes.
잡으면
It's
이게
almost
딱
like some seats are on airplane, and
바짝바짝바짝
some are being shot.
엎드러지면서 탁
And
튀겨가지고
even
총을
there's a
탁
type of
쏴서
weed that sticks
한
to
10m
people.
확 날려보내. 그러니까 총을
Well, if
쏴서
they're going to suck
날려보내고
blood out of people, then they should
비행기를
be
태워서
something that
날려보내고
they should not be visible,
또
but
도끼
they are
새끼들은요
they're very prominent.
다니는
They are
사람을
very
딱
easily seen,
꽂혀가지고
and
그게
it's almost like they're asking you to take them right away when you go home. So when you go to the farm, you have so many differences stuck to you, and the pine tree, it flies. It's just like a helicopter.
아 귀찮아서 꼭 다 뛰가 버린다니까 이게. 그러면 아이고 성공이다. 그러고 거기 가. 그러면 붙어가.
There's also a different type of weed.
소나무는 그냥 탁 그러면 팽팽팽팽팽팽팽팽 날아서 딱 헬리콥터야.
And
헬리콥터 날아.
just like the flame glass or silver glass, on a windy day, it flies very far.
하얗게 피었구나 그러지만 걔들은 우리들 보기 좋으라고 피는 게 아니고.
And so, grandmother, who is well aware of those, she knows that even if you cut them or burn them, they will come back. And if you get the seeds from them, and although it's a very cold winter, they don't die away.
그걸 알아. 아 여기 날아서도 온다는 것도 알고. 요걸 씨를 받으면 여기에서 요놈들이.
And also, after plowing the farm, if you give them fertilizer, they're very happy and they take their own position.
절대 안 줄.
And since you cannot stop them from flying in,
그래가지고 얼마나 밭을
the person who plows the farm says
을 쉬고 그러고 탁 내려앉아.
that when they're about to ripe, then he throws them away.
이제 날아오는 것까지는 막을 수가 없어.
When it's about time for the wheat to grow, to have the sprouts, then they just grind kind of the farm, and then they don't. A lot of them die, but about 10% of them is still alive.
몸에 어떻게 우미
And also before they put down their roots, they're also being cut off by experienced farmers.
그럼 얘들이 올라오다가 이제 거의 한 90%.
Since there's no roots, if you use a hoe, then you can just get rid of them first.
전에 호미를 가지고 쏙싹싹싹 맺더라.
If you do it on a sunny day, then they will again fly away. So you have to do it on a rainy day.
뿌리가 안 내렸기 때문에 호미를 가지고 뱃난 날 그것도 비 오는 날 구름 낀 날 하면 안 돼. 배지 쨍쨍 나는 날 가서.
Well, you're good at it, but your daughters are not, right? Does your daughter know how to do it?
잘안 돼. 쇠비름은 그냥 다 뽑아가지고 빨래줄에다 걸어버려야 돼.
Well, she took care of some work here.
그거 못하지.
Why you not bringing some vegetables on the Buddha's birthday?
그 지금 소나무 있는데 그 집터에서 먹을 때 다 했잖아. 왜 요즘은
So while plowing, there are also about 1% of them who is alive, and they still think that although 99% has died and there's only 1% alive, they still think it's a great success because they can multiply.
이렇게 매다가 그어서 또 한 1% 살아남은 놈이 있어.
And so again, the experienced ones, before they get new seeds, they take care of them. So like sweet potato, they're being the farm is taken care of about like 3 times.
또 그놈이 씨를 받기 전에 또 뽑아보라. 고구마 밭을 그러니까 3번을 내.
The first time you have to grind it. Second time, you just have to dig a little with the hoe. And the third time, you just have to put it in your hand and try to take some of them out. And if you do that,
싹싹 감에서 이제 뽑으면 돼. 세 번째는
then there are about only one or two
조금 더
left.
많이 뻗어 나가서
And if there's only one or two left in autumn,
요거는 위로 올라오잖아, 그죠?
when you're taking the stems of sweet potatoes, or when it's about time that you get the seeds,
그러면
before you actually get the seeds, just pluck them.
한두 개 남거나 그래.
And also that too, don't pluck them and keep it in the farm. Then there'll be another like bunch growing.
그 고구마 순 딸 때나 씨 받을 때
Take them out and throw it outside.
때 되면
You have to manage it that way. And houses who take care of them like that,
떨어지기 전에 얼른 뽑아서 그것도 멍청하게 뽑아서 밭에다 놔두면 안 돼.
whether it is sweet potatoes or rice paddy or whichever it is, they don't have so much weeds. But Puria's farm is not like that.
집은 이게
The Shinto ENT's owner, he knows how to
뭐 마치고
take care of the medical issues, but even farming is just like a doctoral degree is a little more difficult than acquiring a doctoral degree.
그 뭐냐면
I there are also some people who plant the lettuce now.
농사도 박사학이야. 박사학위보다 더 어려워.
You have to do it sooner.
농사도 박사학위보다 더 어려운 거예요, 그죠?
The ones that the ones we use to make kimchi. But some people say, "Oh, I was busy, so I was not able to do it." But the lettuce seed is not going to wait for you,
그때 뿌려야 된단 말이야.
and that's why.
포기가 안 하나.
So when the seed has sprout, you have to get rid of them right away. Just like that, a bodhisattva,
바빠서 못 뿌리는 거.
when the strength of karma is at its weakest, you have to get rid of them.
그 씨앗이 봐라.
When the karma has been outshone in a strong way, then it already has its strength. And so it's difficult to stop it.
업에 힘이 안 붙었을 때 업을 제거를 하는 거야.
Because of the habits, it's difficult to stop it.
거칠게 나왔을 때
So when you are smoking one or two cigarettes,
관성이 붙어가지고
when it was a time that you wanted to smoke, at the time when your friends asked you to smoke, when your mind was shaken, it was a time when the karma has not been out in the place. So
그 전에 담배를 피우고 싶은 생각이 일어났을 때 친구들이
just like a grandmother who is very experienced about farming, and when she's taking care of them, just like that, you have to say, "What are you talking about?" And when you have a hatred for your husband, and by words, if you say, if you're commenting on it, then the karma has already been strengthened. They are the things that has been taking many hundreds of rounds in the head. It's a great lie if you say that I thought of it for the first time ever and it's out in the mouth. That's a lie. That has been thought a lot already in your mind, and because of the strength that's gained, it's being spoken.
그 소리가 오늘 처음 나왔습니다. 빨간
And with the accumulation of the strength, it's been spoken out once, twice, three times, four times.
이 마음이 팍 일어나고 팍 일어나고 팍 일어나고
And and when you're talking in the cafe about it,
이렇게 붙다가 입으로 팍 튀어나오는 거야.
I say during those times, I say he's a very bad person, divorce him. But then on the way back, you say you have not even gotten married, and you're commenting weird things about it, and you stop talking about those things.
그때는 나 같으면
Well,
그 못된 놈이다. 그 이혼해버리라 내가 그랬더라.
if you don't touch them, then they would not sting you. Even you, if you don't harm them,
그런다고 그 말이 좁대가.
he's only stinging. He's only biting you because they're also scared. But if you don't, they will also not harm you.
그래서 또 업이 말이야.
If you keep talking, then it will become. It will change into behavior. If it starts to be taken out or portrayed as a behavior, then then you could say that, oh, I'm going to leave home, and your husband say, go, where can you go? And when you're very angry, you pack your luggage once, and you repeat that about 4 or 5 times because you don't really have a place to go. And if you after repeating 4 or 5 times, you actually do leave the place. So when we do the meditation and when we say we are self-aware, then it means we have the self-realization. And also the karma that we are performing right now, is it the karma that's going to give us happiness, or is it the karma that's going to give us suffering? And the karma which is going to give you happiness, you have to repeat. But uh, but in an opposite way, we don't repeat the karma that's going to give us happiness, but the karma that's going to give us suffering, we repeat a lot. We drink a lot well, or we smoke well for a longer time, and we sit and we curse our husbands more, and we say you actually go through divorce if you repeat that again and again. And the karma that is going to give you suffering, you repeat a lot, uh, because because you feel that your stress is being revived. They say noise marketing. Well, one of the lawyer, he again did something weird. I don't even know what he's trying to say, and I have also tried to understand him. So I sat and I actually tried to understand him with what kind of consideration is he doing that. But in this mind, in this heart, in Papsange we say that with the start of something in the heart, and if it gets repeated practice, then it will start opening again and again. It will continue to open. So from the beginning, where even those criminals who went to jail after committing crime, when they go about like 10 times, they're already 30 to 40 years. Most of them, they'll be about that age. In the beginning, their act of stealing bread because they were so hungry, if that gets repeated 2 3 times, if they're caught, then it becomes a habit and they're not able to cut them off. And so a practitioner, when it is started off in the hurt, just like a grandmother who plucks the weeds very well, when the hurt is actually been started, when it actually started, you have to just get rid of them. This is not okay, and this should be eradicated. And acknowledging that or realizing that, we say it is actually being aware or knowing it. But uh, for the meditation nowadays, people say that we just watch the heart changing and also things arising. But it's not only okay to watch them, you have to stop it. If you only observe the mind or heart that's been rising, but in before, there's a sense of discrimination, so they can identify if this is good or not. If there's a strength, then it's okay, but that's actually a little more fortunate. But if there's no sense of discrimination, and if you only just keep watching them rising, then the karma does not die. And so whether it is a reciting mantra or concentration method or imaginary method, if you continue to concentrate your mind to something, then your mind will not go to two different ways, and so it can also start to fade away, and you have to start off to do that. How many lines did we do? So this phenomenon that we are attached to, it is actually created from the mind that is going through a little bit of upside down. So I'm going to explain once again. When we look at the mirror, is it to look at the mirror or to look at myself? It is to look at myself. Although we say we are looking at the mirror, we're not looking at the mirror. We are looking at ourselves. So when we are looking at the mirror, we are looking at it in order to see see I who is reflected. And so when we are trying to look at the mirror, it doesn't matter if you are handsome or ugly, but we should only be looking at the mirror, right? But when we study this, the mind that has been aroused looking at other people, they are all reflections of my heart. So looking at the object with my eyes, and when my consciousness has been aroused, it is all actually my hurt and my feelings. So when you say your husband is also ugly, why do you think that happened? Whose idea is that? So don't say that your husband is ugly. It is actually something to be embarrassed, isn't it? Well, it seems like you don't want to answer. So while looking at this wall, when you say you're looking at this wall in an objective way, that is not true. You're just looking at it as how you want it. And looking at it, you think of many things, and also the thoughts which raises acne or even other problems. But it's actually your hurt and your feelings. But this doesn't mean you are actually causing them, but you're actually creating the karmas yourself. So in Abhidhamma Sutra, it says that acknowledging this wall, it is actually my acknowledgement, and also there's nothing that other people has actually tried to divide it at you. When we say it's the pine tree, the pine tree or the leaf doesn't tell you to look at me and say I'm green, but it is actually you who think it's green, and also you think green color is good. And also when you feel that you are also aging, that's also your feeling. And also young people, when they say let's go to maple leaves, that is also something that's been aroused from you, by you, from your heart. So while living in this world, when we say I'm living life in a poor way, that's also your doing. You have decided to live your life in a poor way, and you are living life in a poor way. But other people has not actually taught you to live life in a poor way. And also, when you say "Why am I so ugly?" that is also your own feelings. And also, sometimes there is also a problem. I think why am I so ugly is also a problem, but some people also say why am I so handsome or beautiful? That is also a problem. In this world, uh, the people who does not have a cut line, there are people who has a lot of problems. They have no cut lines about handsomeness or prettiness or even to live for a long time. If they don't have that cut line, well, at least you need to have a little or certain cut lines. If there's no cut line, then the problem is very serious. Last time, once, the person is about 90 something years old, and it seems like he thinks I know about even people's lives. So he looked at me and asked, "How long do you think I'm going to live?" And I said, "Oh, I think you're going to live for a long time." Well, don't tell me like that, but
그래서
I
나보고
want to die, so please tell me how long I should live. And when I asked him how old are you,
사시겠습니까?
he said he's about 96 years old.
아이고 신이 그렇게
And in his heart, he also has the kind of feeling that he wants to die because he's also old. But on the other hand,
96인가 그랬는데
he also has the desire to be alive. That's the opposite thought. And so I don't even know how to do it, but I was just counting my fingers.
그렇지만 한편으로는 또 무슨 생각이냐면
And so I think you're going to live up to 110. And he's like, oh,
대표님이거든.
how hideous is the thought. But while,
곱싹곱싹
unlike his speech, he was actually grinning.
이렇게 곱싹곱싹 해가지고
And he was very happy. And he said, please give him please offer some money. And I got $100 at the time.
그러면서 이제 올라.
Where I thought if I tell him that he'll be living up to 110, that's also a word of blessing. And I was hoping that he would also be encouraged. And well, for my mere words, I got $100. I got a lot. And so I hope you also live to 110 years, all of you.
좀 용기 드리고
All of you have to give me $100 today.
사십시오. 축원이잖아. 그래서 축원해드리는데 그 축원비로 10만 원 받았으니까 많이 받았지.
So it's a process that happened because the karma in my heart it activated and it's kind of a reflection of it. And we all know that it's a mess. But although if we all know that it's a mess, but if our heart is not messed, then it's not a mess.
내 마음의
Well, last time the
나타난 현상이란 말이야.
Senorita they talk about the Senori Party, the free meal.
어쩌고 저쩌고 그런 엉망인 줄 알지만 지 마음이 엉망이 아니면 엉망은 아니야.
They did go through the experimentation where with the money that's been supported by the government to the poor, if they take out the tax and everything, they have to live about like 1,000 won a day, less than $1 a day. And when he went through the experience, he said he only did the diet like a king. But that's because he's fat and he also has a lot of things in his body. But those poor people, what's for them to lose their weight? And with that money, they can only barely survive on instant noodles. That's also not enough. They also need to pay for the gas and others. So they are not hungry. Where they think if you are not hungry, you think others are not hungry too.
배때기 기름 빼게끔 하면 하루 1,000원씩 갖고 라면만 끓여 먹고 하면 라면도 1,000원씩 끓여 먹나.
Where even Senor Party has to listen to this carefully. Such a bad people. Sometimes they say many different wrong things. In this world, they claim that if they want to earn money, that everyone can earn money, but it is not so.
그러더라고. 새누리당도 이거 잘 들어야 돼.
Then in a society like America, when it's so developed and even the GDP is more than like thousands of dollars, but there are still people who has difficulty. It's not that they're not doing it, but a karma is something that they cannot overcome, and so you have to help others and live in harmony. What else can you do?
그럼 미국 같은 사회 그렇게 발달되고 있고 뭐 몇만 불이 넘어가는 그런 사회도 지금 거지들이 있는데 어떻게 할까요? 그 지가 안 그래서 그런 게 아니라 지 업이라는 건 어떻게 할 수가 없단 말이야. 그게 되지도 않는 거야 그게. 그러니까 그럼 돕고 같이 살아야지.
When we go somewhere, the relative who is quite well off, when I don't even have a pocket money, he says that after the rain, the land becomes hard, and so you have to live in a strong way. What's there to live in a strong way when I don't even have money? Well,
하시는 말씀.
when there's water, it has to be hard, then the water would not leak away. But when there's no water at all, then what's the use of making the land hard?
단단하게 살아야 된단다. 개떡이라 단단하게 살 게 뭐가 있어?
Nowadays,
돈이 아니 물이 이게 있어.
even with a rice cake, they use a good wheat, and so even it is good, but you all know the rice cake what I'm talking about in the olden times.
요즘에는 개떡이라 그러니까
If you have a little salt, you put a little salt and other ingredients. If you don't have them, you put just whatever you can find,
혼자
and
내가
and
그게 더
normally
알지요.
it's black in color.
밀가루 다 쳐버리고 밀기울 가지고 이렇게 주물주물
And if you
해가지고 또
put
사카리가 있으면 좀 넣고
a little
소금을 조금
sweetening
넣고
thing,
사카리
it
없으면
even tastes better. But nowadays we have sugar, but they didn't even have sugar in the olden time. And saccharin is like a chemical,
개떡이 시큼해.
and the rice cake without even that sweetener,
그러니까 뭐 사카리라도 좀
even the
들어가면 좋아.
shape or
요즘에 설탕이
taste,
하도 흔해 빠져 설탕을 하지만 옛날에 설탕도
and
없고
even
사카리
when you go to
넣어가지고
bathroom, you can see
사카리는
that
그
it's
석유화학에서
black in
뽑아낸
color.
화학약품이라고.
When you're full,
그걸 가지고
well,
넣고
it's
뭐
same with
반짝
you
찍어서
too.
맛을 먹지 마.
Uh,
사카리도 한잔
when you go home after eating out, you 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 worry about cooking for your husband. Uh, where when you're full, uh, even when you go to market, you don't even know what to buy because you're already full.
지배가 부르면
But
또
I know about this very well.
외식하고 들어갈 때 영감이 밥 해줄 길이 걱정이지. 지가 배가 부르면 가서 시장을 가서 보더라도 이 시장 볼 게 별로 생각이 안 나. 근데 그것도 내가
Instinctively,
집에서
people are
싸먹으니까
bound to buy things
배가
which they
고프면
like
술
and
먹고
also
싶으면 그걸
which
많이
it
사지.
fulfills them. So when you
영감이
go to
배를
market
고픈다는
and
것은
when you try to see, there
지극히
isn't much that you can
그래도
give to
내 영감
others,
하고 사는
and so you
사람은
need to be
약간
hungry. Then only
인간 뇌를
you will
잘
find the
내
things to
본능적으로
give to
자기
others.
배고픈 거, 자기 먹고
And
싶은 걸 먼저
but
사게
if
돼
you
있어.
have eaten even to the last
시장바를
dessert,
들고
then
나가가지고
even
집에
you
와서
don't feel
지금
like
배고프면
buying a
영감
coffee for your husband. So this world, when a person perceives it, if you do something, then you feel the rest of the world is. But if Buddha said, since I have gotten enlightenment, you are a Buddha, you are a Buddha, and so I'm going to leave this world in peace, then this world would have no meaning at all. Everyone is Buddha. Well, up to that point, it's amazing. But there's a reason why we did not become Buddha. So if you do this and that, then you can become like me. And he has opened the door for us and he left. That's why it's important.
그까지는 너무너무 훌륭한 일이지만 그러나 그까지는 할 수 있어. 그러나
But in reality, all phenomena are empty. There's no form. Everything is formed with the relations. All the attachments that we form, and although they are object of our attachments, but in reality, if you look at them, then everyone is bound to change, and in reality, there's nothing that doesn't change at all.
사물은 비어 있다는 보다 모든 현상은 다 비어 있는 실제가 없어. 인연 따라서 만들어진 우리가 집착하는
This is a minute voidness that has been proven in the Buddhist sect related to this. So this is voidness. You have to be able to observe in this way. Therefore, by denying the substantiality of the object that has been protruding, by denying it, you also know that the property of object is like a ghost, like a spirit. Since they're formed with the karma, because of karma, they do not have the actual form, and that's why they're like a spirit. It's like a shadow. It's like a picture in the movies. What could have the form that's eternal in this world of changing? With the aspiration that we call I, we just live on or believing that they are true, but in reality, there is nothing that actually has its own eternity.
뭐가 영원한 실체를 갖고 있는 게 있겠는가?
By understanding the reality of the object, we can also understand the pessimistic emotions, just like anger or sense of detachment or attachment. So even those kind of pessimistic thoughts, or even the good emotions or positive emotions, they do not have a form, and they come and they disappear, and they're just like a spirit, just like a shadow.
집착이나 또는 미워하는
The
생각이나 또는
end.
어떤 좋은 감정이나 이런 것들도 전부 다 좋은 감정마저도 전부 다 실제가 없이 있다가 금방 사라지는 환영과 같은 것이다. 그림자 같은 것이다.
If you can recite the mantra together with me for even for a short time, it'll be great.